hello to all of our life learners. Today, we are doing our follow through episode on the Business of Life Masterclass podcast from our interview with Laura Woodard. Her original episode aired on February 14th, our very first Valentine's Day episode. It was super fun. And the topic is getting to the grassroots of marketing and making a difference. Barb Zant here, media sales leader and founder of the lifestyle brand, The Stay at Work Mom.
Hi, everyone. It's Debbie Lundberg, performance, resilience, and mindset coach with Presenting Powerfully. What a fun thing to do for the love of Valentine's to have Laura Woodard on, right?
It was great. It was, I want to make sure that we add that in the future. And not only was she our very first Valentine's Day special, but she was also a fellow WLP member. And what a moment that USF Bulls are having right now. Go Bulls.
Go
So it
Bulls.
was just a lot of positive energy.
A lot of positive energy. We've had some terrific, we have the now president of the University of South Florida, Moaz Lamayam, was on, I believe, in season 2.
Early.
And very early during the pandemic. It was when we started doing these via Zoom, and he was gracious enough to join us when he was the dean of the Muma College of Business, with Lauren Gestalder, who heads up Women in Leadership and Philanthropy. And wow, we've had many others as well.
Miriam
Marion Young, who got us to do our wills and pick up trash. And so Laura was a wonderful addition. And as a matter of fact, when we got the introduction from Morgan Bars, and of course we knew Laura already, but it was wonderful because Morgan was such a dynamic guest on the show. And so it all comes together, and even people who aren't in Tampa Bay, because we've been fortunate to have a lot of them as well, there's some sort of connection. And Laura, with her grassroots medical marketing, she had grassroots marketing and then shifted, which was fascinating because she's really reminded all of us, you, me, all of our life learners, that she took some of her expertise and then going through this process of being the medical proxy and caregiver, really realizing how challenging it was and that medical practices were not promoting themselves well. So what did she do? She saw a gap and she filled it in. I mean, we could utilize Laura's example for really anything in life. Look for a gap and fill it and then prosper, because she's really doing well. I see she's speaking at a ton of places and she's been all over the world.
And we talk in the title, the grassroots marketing is, and she said it herself on our episode, is that relationship marketing. And how cool is that?
So cool. And it was all these relationships that got us to her and got her expertise on the show. Now, we were talking earlier about the difference when we were not in the recording, about the difference in her walk up and walk off music, and very, very different. She's got Can't Stop the Feeling, which is, Can't Stop the Feeling. And it's
every time we just say the name, I can hear it. I start moving my body, get a little wiggly.
Little wiggly. It really does pump us up. And then that Greatest Love of All by George Benson, which original. And the piano is so strong at the beginning, and his voice is so very different from Whitney Houston's that most of our generation, at least, were used to. And I wasn't expecting it. I don't think I'd ever heard that version before. And some of you know, and I know, Barb, I think you know this, I love piano because in the Miss America organization, when people do their talent as piano, I don't know, I feel like it shows so much dedication and discipline and grace. I'm not saying others don't, but there's something about piano. So when those first notes hit, from the fact that it's Laura's, one of her favorite songs, I don't know. It just boomed instead of being that softness that I guess I'm used to. It really surprised me. What's that?
It was almost dramatic.
It was dramatic. You're right. And how great for the Valentine episode to have something dramatic and very much about the greatest love of all. So,
And our Valentine's episode too, also, she talked about flamenco. I like to say flamingo, and I think of the flamingo at the airport, but the flamenco dancing and how the two of us can incorporate that in. And all long-term lessons, I think, is in our future. But as far as right now, I think the best thing for us is going to be dinner at the Columbia restaurant and actually watch the flamenco dancing because I've never done that and I've never seen the show and I've heard it's great. And then in the future, possibly we could do some dancing lessons.
Barb, I'm in for both. Now, I have seen the flamenco dancing a couple of times. Quick story, because Laura would love this. Michael and I went to see that before we were even engaged. It was one of our early dates. And some people were in town for it. And I had a company car because I was working for General Motors and parked in a spot that I thought was a legal spot. So you know where this is going.
Yep.
So we have this amazing food, this beautiful flamenco dancing. And somebody sent a note over to the table. It was a very peculiar evening. And when we left and we'd gone into Ybor City, for those folks listening who may or may, whether you know it or not, it's the Columbia restaurant. It's been in Ybor City since 1905. The car was gone. And I asked a guy, like, where is this car? And he said, oh, it was about to get towed. And a person who was in the flamenco dancing with us paid the tow truck driver to move it to a legal spot. Paid them.
What?
Yes. It was a very strange, I'll tell you all the details at another time, but the flamenco dancing, when she talked about it, it brought back the story from 21 plus years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Of seeing it. And then we've seen it since, and the show does not disappoint. Now, I happened to see Laura at another event, and she said there is a restaurant called Spain that had flamenco dancing, but she didn't know if it was still open. So I told her we would mention it and we will see about bringing it up. So she has some really good thoughts about the peacefulness of the day and getting started, which was really, really calm. I think of flamenco is so, it's loud and it's energetic and it's beautiful and it's not chaotic. It's very choreographed, and yet it has a lot of the noise from the hands and the feet, as Laura mentioned. And then she has this really meditative morning. So she's got quite a range.
Yes, and she breaks it up into threes, and I love a theme. And so there was a theme throughout her entire episode of threes.
Mm-hmm.
She breaks it up so that her wake up time is 6 a.m., which that's very similar to mine. But I love breaking up into, so she would start with her dog walk, and then she would do the deep breathing, which I have absolutely been on since we had Suzanne on, and it's a part of my routine daily. So I loved putting that into my walk. And she has the gratitude on her walk. And then also the last, maybe she said the last part of her walk, she gets into work mode. So she starts thinking about her schedule and things that she needs to do. So I really like how she broke that up. And I absolutely am going to keep that in my walks in the morning.
Ironically, her timing was excellent with Valentine's Day and when we recorded it, because Michael was out of town for a little bit and I was walking Daisy. And so it was a very conscientious, very purposeful to think of those three splits when I was walking Daisy. So when he's gone, I get up earlier and make sure she gets her time and attention because he's gracious and does it normally. So I was able to do it as well. And I did really like it. The gratitude, the breathing, and then the work mode. And I admit though, and maybe this is true for some of our life learners, they started to crisscross. So I give Laura a lot of credit that she's keeping it split because your brain wants to go to whatever's got your attention or distraction, whichever it is.
Yes. And talk about distractions. And this is another theme because it's come up in our past episodes with prior guests, but no phone.
Yes.
And being present and look people in the eye. So that has been a theme that is definitely speaking to me, and then teach people along the way. So both of us love to have mentors, and we always make sure that we are mentoring and have mentorees, if I said that backwards, but that really spoke to me as well.
And I had a really good opportunity. I had my new protege from the mentor protege program in between when Laura was on and while we're doing this follow through. And so I was able to meet with Jonathan and get him introduced to some people who have already been connecting. Betsy Irizarry, who was on the show. Jonathan is part of a Latino based organization for promoting businesses and networking and mentoring. And so I asked Betsy if she would communicate and connect with him since she is a Latina and Latina owned business. And so she's already connected. So it made me smile the fact that he went to USF. Here's Betsy was on our show. Laura's talking about doing this, and it could come together during our follow through was really wonderful. Now, would it have happened that way if Laura hadn't been on? Possibly. But the reality is, by her putting it out there in our episode on Valentine's Day, it was so top of mind to like make sure we're teaching and promoting and connecting along the way that it made me do it right away instead of waiting till Jonathan and Betsy were together that I could introduce them. I was able to make the connection, and I give Laura credit for that, for one of those other threes.
And that relationship-based marketing. Love
Yes.
it. So as we close this out, please know, listeners, that you can stay connected with us on Instagram and Facebook at the Business of Life Masterclass. Me on Instagram at the Stay at Work Mom, and Debbie Lundberg is Debbie Lundberg most everywhere. Debbie is Debbie Lundberg Coach on TikTok. So if you like what you heard, please rate us 5 stars. We are committed to providing you with 5-star guests just like Laura. So stay tuned, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business of Life Masterclass, the podcast for successful people embracing every chance to accomplish and experience all you can in business and in life.
Listen, choose, do. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have ever thought, gosh, I'd like a collaborator, I wonder what else I could do, it's likely that the answer is a coach. Hi, I'm Debbie Lundberg, Performance and Mindset Coach with Presenting Powerfully. And if you would like confidential coaching to drive you to the next idea, the next role, or even to figure out your own brand, please reach out to us at Presenting Powerfully, 813-494-4438. Thank you.